There is a rustic beauty in vintage floral surface pattern design and fabric from the arts and crafts era. Curling leaf tendrils, wildflowers, weeds, and beautiful organic forms are a staple of the vintage prints of this era, and an incredibly inspiring creative moment for myself and many other surface pattern designers. This month, I'm bringing you a new surface pattern design course focused on the era and style. We will be creating arts and crafts inspired and stylized repeat patterns in Procreate. Hello everyone, if this is your first class with me, welcome. If you're a returning student, welcome back. I'm Jen and I will be guiding you through this creative course. I'm a freelance graphic designer, illustrator, and educator based out of the Midwest, and I run Bella and Sophia Creative Studio. If you want to learn more about me, you can visit me online at www.bellasophiacreative.com, and you can check out my YouTube channel, The Creative Studio. There, you'll get a behind-the-scenes view of the work that I do as a creative freelancer and educator, as well as access to a huge library of free tutorials relating to art, design, and illustration. So what is this class about? This month, I'm coming back with another surface pattern design course inspired by the arts and crafts era and designers like William Morris. We will be illustrating and building a repeat pattern inspired by this era using the Procreate app. Morris believed that true art came from the direct observation of nature, which he experienced firsthand in his exposure to the countryside where he lived, and in following years as he established a wild garden in his self-designed red house in Kent. This home was decorated inside and out with beautiful floral motifs. Morris also collected herbals, which are 16th century books containing accurate plant and flower studies and their medicinal properties, giving him a really extensive knowledge of botany. He utilized these everyday resources and books along with a huge dose of imagination to produce great works of design and ornamental pattern work. We will tap into this very idea by looking to nature and botanical research books to find inspiration for our illustrations and motifs for our patterns. We will casually but strategically explore nature, photograph it, and pull directly from those photos for our own botanical illustrations. I will also share some of my favorite botanical book resources. Once we've sourced our material, we can then begin the sketch process, fine-tune our illustrations, and begin to build the repeating pattern all in the Procreate app. When it comes to the skills you will learn, before we jump into creating, I want to share more about the arts and crafts era. Share some of the influences as well as the unique characteristics of the style when it comes to themes, composition, and layout, as well as things like the typical motifs and color stories that you might see. Then I will walk you through my process for sourcing natural elements, how to tap into your local nature, woods, or even the nature you see on your walks as a source of inspiration. And then we can photograph these sources to tap for illustration inspiration, as well as some great botanical focused textbooks that you can utilize. Then we will walk through translating those sources into illustrations and motifs in Procreate that could then be translated into repeating patterns. I will share tips on how to draw motifs inspired by the arts and crafts era, how to plan your repeating pattern, and how to draw a repeat using the grids and guidelines that we have access to in Procreate. We will utilize layers to work through colorizing and finalizing the motifs in Procreate. Finally, I'll walk you through my process of building the seamless repeating pattern using a template in Procreate that you can use over and over again. At the end of this class, you will have the skills and knowledge to create layered arts and crafts inspired repeating patterns using inspiration that you can source right out of your own backyard. So who is this class for? This is more of an intermediate class, so in order to follow along, I suggest you have some basic knowledge on how to create patterns. But if it's your first time building your pattern in Procreate, don't fret, as I take my time walking through this part of the class. If you want to have a basic understanding of pattern design, I do suggest checking out some of my other Intro to Surface Pattern Design courses, and I'll be sure to link some of those in the course description below. So when it comes to the class project and the tools that you'll need, the tools you'll need to work through this class include an iPad, Apple Pencil, or a stylus of your choice, and the Procreate app. I also suggest having access to some sort of camera. Your phone can even work through this as we go throughout nature, trying to source the botanical inspiration that you want to photograph. For your class project, you will be creating one arts and crafts inspired pattern using the steps and the techniques that we're going to go through together in this class. It can be as simple or as complicated as you would like to make it, but I will likely use multiple layers and more than one type of motif in the class example. But you can opt to have 1 or 2 layers with only a few or multiple types of motifs for your project. Make sure you check out the class resources for the course guide and template that you can reference as you work through the class. I'm really excited to create with you today. Let's get started.